welcome back to my channel, sports fans. Okay, let's go ahead and get into this. Where was Wilt Chamberlain in the playoffs in the NBA Finals? Where was he at? And we're not here to beat up on Wilt Chamberlain because I made another video before this about Wilt Chamberlain in his where he scored low points in a game in the NBA Finals, in the playoffs, again and again and again. 2 points, 5 points, 8 points, 8 points, 5 points, 4 points, 10 points. And the list just went on and on. And sometimes we kill LeBron about this, but nobody wants to say nothing about Wilt Chamberlain, who is supposed to be the greatest scorer of all times. So on here, you see, if you don't see Wilt Chamberlain's name, that means he was like below 20 or something like that. So this is most 30-point games in the playoffs. And as you can see, you got LeBron 1, and you got Jordan 2, and then Kobe Bryant. And Wilt Chamberlain was all the way at the bottom at like number 15. So, and I know some of this has to do with longevity, but when you're not even in the top 10, something is wrong. So most 40-point games in the NBA playoffs. Michael Jordan, he has 38, LeBron 29, and you see Wilt Chamberlain all the way below Jerry West, below Elgin Baylor, below Kevin Durant. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He's all the way at number 7. And we'll talk about a little bit more about these excuses that are going to be made. They're going to say, oh, he wanted to do more. He didn't want to be a scorer no more. He wanted to be like Bill Russell and all this stuff. And I'm just not buying it. So imagine Michael Jordan or LeBron James saying, I don't want to be a scorer no more. I just want to be like Bill Russell. Bill Russell was a guy that scored like 14, under 20 points a game? If I'm not mistaken, like 15 points a game, had monster rebounds, and what was a monster defensively. I don't think that's, some of that's Chamberlain's game, but not all of that is Chamberlain's game. It's just not. So, and a lot of people say this nonsense. They say, oh, he led the league in assists, and I give that to him. He could do a lot of stuff, but when after year 6, 7, and you stop scoring, I don't know how much that really did to help your teams. You went from scoring 50 a season, 37 a season, 35 a season, 40 a season, and all this stuff. I'm just not buying it. It just didn't win him more championships. In the last championship that he won, with these two guys on the list, Elgin Baylor and Jerry West, I mean, this is the equivalent, if I'm not mistaken, this was his maybe 9th season in the league that he went and played with. It might have been 8th. He went and played with Jerry West and Elgin Baylor. I mean, imagine Jordan doing that in his 9th season. I think that was his, let's see. So that was his, after he three-peated, after he won his 3rd championship, maybe his 2nd championship, if that's correct, that Wilt Chamberlain did that in his 8th season. I mean, could you imagine Jordan now going to hook up with, let's say, I don't know, these are 2 great all-time scorers right here. Not to say that, the competition was good on the Celtics, but still, that's like Jordan going to play with Karl Malone and John Stockton. Not even that. So most 50-point games in the playoffs. Now, Wilt does show up with 4, and he's 2nd, okay? Allen Iverson is 3. Tatum is already number 2. Jamal Murray, number 2. Wow. Donovan Mitchell, 2. Lillard, 2. Jerry West, 2. Joker, 1. So, 60-point games in the playoffs. Jordan, 1. Elgin Baylor, 1. And Jordan had the most points at 63. Elgin Baylor has 61. But, you know, when I look at these lists, I'm thinking Wilt should be like having 70-point games, 80-point games, 90-point games, stuff like this in the playoffs, and we haven't even got to the finals. Wilt should be having these type of games because this was supposed to be a dominant scorer. He was scoring, 100 points in a season, 80 points in a season. He's got all these 70-point games in one season, all these 60-point games in one season. I mean, so let's go to the NBA Finals. Most 60-point games in the NBA Finals, and Elgin Baylor is by himself. I mean, a guy that Wilt Chamberlain played with, Elgin Baylor. And you're telling me Wilt Chamberlain couldn't get a 60-point game in the finals? And people, well, what about Michael Jordan? Michael Jordan did have a 55-point game in the finals, and we're going to come to that. But we're talking about Wilt Chamberlain. Okay, I'm not talking about where you guys were like, oh, he wanted to get his team more involved. He wanted to do something else. I'm talking about before he got to that point. Where was it? Where was it? You guys talk to me. So, most 50-point games in the finals. I didn't even see Wilt Chamberlain on this list. So this is where I cut it off. I didn't see him in no top 20 or nothing like this. So even Giannis has one. Giannis, I don't know why he's number 1 because Jordan, let me see. Jordan had 55. LeBron had 1, 51 points. Jerry West has 1 at 53 points. And again, even Bob Pettit is on this list. So, look, you mean Bob? I'm not trying to beat up on Bob Pettit because he's white. Jerry West is white. Rick Barry is white. So it's not about the ethnicity. It's about where is Wilt? He doesn't have any 50-point games, and you can't make too much excuses when you're talking about the finals and longevity because Wilt went to 6 NBA finals. So it ain't too many people that went to 6 NBA finals. When you talking about like the Celtics of the 60s and Jordan did, LeBron did, Jerry West did, Elgin Baylor, these guys, it's not too many people. Magic, Kareem, what else you got? Maybe Shaq, Kobe. It's not that many people have been to 6 NBA finals unless they played on the same team, of course. But most 40-point games in the NBA finals. Here we go again. You got Jerry West. He's got 10. LeBron has 8. Jordan has 6. Shaq has 5. Elgin Baylor has 4. Greek Freak has 3. Rick Barry has 3. And, Devin Booker is even on here. And Kyrie Irving is on here. I mean, where was Wilt in the playoffs, in the finals? Okay, this is very important for this guy to show up in the NBA finals. And the lie has to stop about, teams were better than his team and stuff like that. To me, it just don't seem like he showed up to the NBA finals like he showed up to the regular season. And we're going to get into the excuse making a little bit later because I'm not buying it. You guys can buy it. You guys can purchase it. I'm not buying it. That's why I can't put Wilt at number 1. He didn't show up for the He didn't show up for these games. And I'm comparing him to his status in the regular season. Okay, I'm not comparing him to, anybody else. I'm comparing him to what he did in the regular season. If you're putting up 100-point games, if you're putting up all these 70, 80, 60-point games, and you got all the records in the regular season, where are you in the playoffs, in the NBA Finals, when it really counts? Yes, it counts in a regular season because you want to get the accolades, you want to get, in the playoffs, you want to get that superstardom, but in the NBA Finals, in much of the playoffs too, the playoffs gets you into the NBA Finals. These things separate you from all the other great players. Okay? And we're saying that Wilt Chamberlain was the most dominant player ever. I mean, what? Where? In the regular season? And if we go through his, what was it? If we go through his first 6 years in the regular season, yes, he was dominant in much of the playoffs too, in his first maybe 6, 7 years, depending on how you look at it. Yes, he was pretty much dominant, but not compared to how dominant he was in the regular season. He went down. He went down in the regular season in the playoffs, compared to how he did in the regular season in his first 6, 7 years. Most people in the playoffs, you're supposed to take it up a notch. So this is the most 30-point games right here. You got Jerry West. You got Michael Jordan at Jerry West at 31, Michael Jordan at 23. I mean, Jerry West was a beast. I mean, yeah, he went to all these NBA Finals, but still, he's got more than LeBron James. So what does that tell you? LeBron at number 3. You got Elgin Baylor on here. You got Kevin Durant. You got Kareem. I mean, Bob Pettit's on here. No way a Bob Pettit should ever be above Wilt as far as high-scoring games in the playoffs. Because when you go to the regular season, Bob Pettit ain't even in Wilt's universe. So where was Wilt in the playoffs, in the NBA Finals? Nobody knows. All I know is that I don't care about what he was doing with blocks and rebounds. It seems like they needed more points to score because they did go 2-6. And when he went to L.A., he was much of a shell of himself as far as scoring. And I know he didn't have to do too much scoring because you had Elgin Baylor and you had Jerry West. But think if this guy was putting up 40 and 50 points with Jerry West. I mean, wow. And, that 1969 game I seen when the Celtics beat the Lakers, and they wasn't even supposed to win that game. I mean, the Lakers had the most talent, and a lot of people know what happened. The owner of the Lakers ran his mouth, had the balloons in the rafters, and guaranteed a win. And Russell went out and pulled that game out. But the big factor was Wilt, he choked. And what I mean was he got hurt with I don't know, it was like 6, 8 minutes to go in the game, and it was real crucial that he stayed in that game, and he messed up his leg. And to me, I think the reason why he slipped off and he couldn't score no more, and we get this thing that he went to go do something else as far as getting his teammates involved. I think he was doing a lot of foul play with his body. I think he was, that thing where he slept with 100 women and all this stuff. I think he was doing a lot of drugs, drinking a lot of alcohol. He wasn't keeping his body in shape and all this stuff. And his body ultimately gave out on him where he couldn't do what he did earlier in his career. do, all the blocks, all the rebounds, all the scoring. So I think his body just broke down and he just became a rebounder and a defensive guy, much like a Dennis Rodman maybe. So you guys can buy that all you want. You think I want a guy not scoring 30, 40, 50 points a game? To do what? He was already rebounding and blocking shots. So, I mean, that's ridiculous. Tell me what you think.